Welcome to Realty Real Talk. I am the host, Ashley O'Borney, and my co-host.
I am Deanne Roundy. And we have with us today Brian Kays. And we're really excited because we're going to be discussing a really hot topic right now in real estate. So there has been a settlement, which, you know, if you're not in the real estate community, you probably haven't heard of it, or maybe you have. It's been on national news. So Brian, I guess kind of get us a little bit caught up on what that settlement is that's going on right now.
Yeah, and I'll expect you as a broker to help out with that too. At the center of all of this is really transparency, right? Between realtors to realtor, broker to realtor, and then realtor to their clients. And transparency is difficult sometimes to get to because there's lots of steps involved, and we believe that no one here in Nebraska was necessarily not being transparent. It was where this started was in Missouri with this NAR settlement coming out of a lawsuit from the Missouri area, or at least started and then went to other states. But the biggest thing is that maybe the clients, our clients as realtors, didn't know where their commissions were going necessarily, or at least in full, right?
Yeah,
And
I think
overall.
right. And it's funny too. I think as even before I was in real estate, I bought and sold my own houses.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking back to when I was on the other side of it. I was on the other side of it, and I didn't know how real estate agents got paid. You know, I knew that I had to pay commission when I sold a house, but when I bought a house, I had no idea how my agent got paid. I just thought, and I think in a lot of industries, you think maybe they're on salary. You think that it's very different when you're an independent contractor as a real estate agent versus in most industries, you're hired on as an employee and you get paid a wage or a salary. In real estate, it is 100% commission.
And
in
most cases, there's a few brokerages out there that I think do a different pay schedule or something like that. But yeah, mostly you're going to run into commission-based realtors, and that's where we use our sphere, we use our leads to get new clients and new transactions and buying and selling, and then we get paid based on what it was and what it still is. The funny thing is that even with this settlement, it's still exactly the same, in my opinion. Okay, it's still paid out almost exactly the same, only it wasn't spelled out in, say, like paperwork. And this is, the new stuff, right? The new paperwork that'll come out that we have to now go over with our clients. Will try and spell it out as transparently as possible to everybody involved. And that means more work on our side. That's great because in my opinion, we're going to be opening up those discussions with our clients, which you always want to try and build rapport. You want to go over the fact that you know what you're talking about, you know what you're doing for your clients. And the biggest thing is that making sure anybody that we are discussing buying or selling a home for or with is aware that this is how it has been, where a commission is taken by this person. It's split up in this way, right?
Right.
I mean,
yeah,
it's always been that way.
Yeah. And, and I think too, it is. One was, I think with the lawsuit is the transparency factor where it's explaining to clients how a real estate agent gets paid. But the second piece of that was letting them know that commission rates, like any commission rate, if you're going to do any industry on commission, is negotiable.
Yes.
Right. And so commission rates are negotiable. Now, I think that, with them being negotiable, every real estate agent has a standard. Right. And so this is the piece that I think is really important for a lot of clients to understand is, every agent is going to be in different, experience levels or, ability to provide different value. And I'm always a big believer you get what you pay for. Right.
Agreed.
And so, I think those that really understand their value and what they offer to a client, they may be asking for a higher commission rate, right? But you are going to get someone who's a lot more experienced. You're going to get somebody who, maybe has had some of the expertise that they're going to need through their deal. So I think that piece is also really important for clients to understand is that, one, here's how we get paid. And then two, it is negotiable, but every real estate agent is going to have a standard and they're probably going to go below a certain amount. And that's for every agent to figure out what their standard is.
Yeah. And really to make sure and then structure their niche in my opinion. I mean, maybe there's a better word for it, or their brand, right? How they're going to structure, hey, I will absolutely either help you purchase a home or help you list a home. But here is what I'm going to require from you, because I know that you're going to require this from me. And maybe you have different structures for that. It's on the listing side, it's easier to talk about, right? If you want the full Brian K's experience or something, like whatever you want to call it, where we do all of this.
Brian K's experience.
I'm going to have to figure that out. Yeah. But here's what we, as a realtor, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do marketing. And here's where I market. Here, I'm going to do maybe an open house or several open houses, or I'm going to set up where I have a team to help me with that. I'm going to have a timeline so that you understand how things are going to go and what to expect. I'm going to help you even with, say, setting up or moving your internet provider. Here's a link to your post office so you can change your address. There's different services in this service industry that realtors can provide. And if you want to, say, package those in different tiers, let's say, this is my commission structure then, if you want that full experience. If you just want me to put it into the MLS, which, and put a sign in the yard, which we don't want to do as realtors, in my opinion, and that's not what I'm about, but here's what I can do it for that. Now, it's always been there where you can negotiate that, right? As a client or someone selling a home or buying a home, it's always been there. Whether it has been discussed as openly as it is being right now is the question. And that's, hey.
Sorry. I was going to you were talking a lot on the list side. So a huge change is how we work with buyers.
Yes,
and, speaking of paperwork, you want to highlight a little bit about what the changes are on the buy side when you work with a new buyer.
The thing I see happening is they've tried to get this to a point where we can handle it, or we can discuss with a buyer. And sometimes buyers, yes, we might know them from, parents of school, at church, at activity we do on the side, somewhere in our sphere, we might know them. So maybe we don't, we talk to them about this, and it's easier to discuss, hey, just for me to show you a home, I now have to have you sign this document. It didn't used to be necessarily that way, except for the agency disclosure. Agency disclosure has always been around. Agency disclosure came around. I mean, I remember it when it was a trifold pamphlet, which dates me a little bit, but 13 years in this industry, when I first started, it was a trifold pamphlet with a perforated edge. You had your buyer client sign it, an initial in certain places, and you on both, on two of the places, you tore off this side and you handed it to them so that you prove that you have agency disclosure or disclose that you are a realtor. Now they have a document that says, well, hey, are you acting as my buyer's agent, my seller's agent, my customer, or just what's the other one, the fourth one, customer and dual. Yeah, dual. This now will go into literally an exclusive buyer's agency. So before, it was, hey, I just had to tell you I'm a realtor. I can go out and show you homes, or the first initial meeting, I want to send this to you. Now we have to go over the fact that if we show you a home that the seller is not willing to pay a commission on to me, and that's how I get paid or earn my expertise, then you have to pay me as a buyer, which is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. It's always been around too, funny enough, but now going over that at first, like very first step, hey, I want to really go over this so you understand. So there's education there, which as realtors, we do continuing education ourselves. We go and share information amongst each other. Hey, how's this going in regards to this? I think there's going to be tweaks in the future. I think there's going to be changes to that, because it will become, well, yeah, this part of it, maybe 80% of this works, but we need to make a little bit of changes here. So going over with buyers how this is going to affect them is going to be a very large piece of this puzzle.
I feel partly that it's almost more hard for the agents right now than necessarily the public, because, you've also got this group in the public that has not known anything more. Like, say they're just entering in, they're getting first time home. They won't know anything different. 5 years from now, it'll be just the way it is, and that's how it's always run. But, it's a huge change in the real estate world for agents because, they've just not had to do that. And so having those conversations up front, I think, is uncomfortable for some. And we may see some agents exit the industry because of that.
Agreed.
They've not had to have those conversations before. So, it's a big shakeup, I feel like, in the real estate community right now.
Yeah. And with that, though, is still at the heart of it is trying to be very open, honest, transparent is the key word there with your clients. And it, funny enough, our MLS, the Omaha Board of Realtors, or the Great Plains Realtor MLS, they've always had in their system, or at least while I've been a realtor, this thing that says, where does the commission go? It's this little, it's a one sheet, and it has a pie graph on it. And it said, this part of the commission goes here, this part of the commission goes here. And I used to include that in my CMAs, my market value analysis of someone selling a home. It wasn't something we had to have signed or initialed. It was just something to educate our clients on and be transparent and help them out. It's funny, I actually have had this conversation now with a couple of new clients. And yes, it's a little bit clunky, or, walking through it and going over these things. You try and make sure you know it backwards, forwards, up, down, left, right. But as changes happen to it too, which we just had some meetings recently about possibly adding some different verbiage and making sure everybody's covered. It gets interesting because they'll ask questions that I didn't think of, that I haven't heard by any other realtor. And you go, oh, well, let me find out. And, it's going to be that.
Yeah.
And that's where the thought of, hey, as long as we are all working together towards making sure this is done correctly, and I as a realtor understand what you're going to be providing, and you as a client understand what I'm going to be providing. The goal is the same no matter what. It's to have either help someone find their dream home or their next home, help someone sell an asset, a house, so that they can move on to either another home. Those are the goals. In our litigious society now, you got to make sure and have everything covered. Well, okay, I'm fine with that. As long as we make sure that, like we talked about, it's transparency. The one thing I don't like right now is that they've actually removed the commission disclosure in our MLS system, which is a little bit, in my opinion, a little bit kind of a half step back. It was out there for all realtors to see. It was, and the public, was on all those feeds and stuff. And now they with this settlement, it's been removed from that. So now we are calling, we're making more, which isn't a bad thing. We've gotten away from that. We do a lot of texting and a lot of, as realtors with technology, but making sure that before anything happens, before we even show a home now, we know where the commission is going to come from. So it's not coming from our client, possibly. Yeah, there's a little bit of a hurdle that got put in place, in my opinion, that really didn't need to be put there. It could have stayed there. It actually maybe should have been where, hey, this needs to be more apparent on what the buyer's agent is getting paid, or something. Have you guys had any issues with that at this point?
It's still so new. Really, nationally, it doesn't go into effect actually till next week.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know when this podcast is going to air. So it's probably going to be in the past at that point, but so it'll be happening then. But I think our market has tried to stay ahead, and especially our brokerage has tried to stay ahead of the lawsuit to make sure that our agents are ready, prepared, they have the documents that we need. But we know those are going to continue to evolve, like you said. As I think we all navigate this as a kind of a new thing. I think what also is really interesting about the lawsuit, obviously I think the major changes we've kind of talked about, which is, clients now are going to have more disclosure about how agents get paid. They're going to be able to have upfront conversations about, what they're willing to pay their agent on the sell side and the buy side. And of course, we just discussed the buyer commission code is taken out of the MLS, so that's not there. So, but I think what is interesting about the lawsuits, and it may be for people to understand, is the lawsuit is with the NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors. It is not with real estate agents. So there's a difference.
That's an education piece that we
you
have
can
to
be
go
a real
over for
estate
sure.
agent and not be associated with NAR, right?
Correct.
And so, but either one, whether you're just a real estate agent not with the NAR or you're with the NAR, both of those groups have to work in the best interest of their client, right? We have a fiduciary responsibility in part of our license law as real estate agents to make sure that we are putting our clients' interest first and we are working in their best interest. I do think the lawsuit, if done correctly, will do that.
Yes, I agree.
We will be working the best
or the agreements coming from the lawsuit, right?
Yep,
yes.
exactly.
And
because,
the
now they're clearer on how everything goes and how, people get paid. But there is, what I think is really interesting with the lawsuit, though, is there are some agents, again, there's a lot of gray area there on how things are communicated to their clients. I think we've done a great job as a brokerage on training agents to make sure that they're doing their best part in that. But I think, we had the conversation just recently about, really, I don't think much is going to change in the industry. We're going to have a lot more open communication, but, our belief is sellers will continue to pay a buyer's agent commission. Majority of them are. I think the stat right now is nationally, I think 76% of sellers will continue to pay a buyer's agent.
There's going to be some models where, you don't want it to be a race to the bottom kind of a thing, but you're still going to have, and we've had them forever, where sellers or potential clients are like, well, how low can you, they're going to ask the question. They know that it's a negotiable commission, and they're going to say, I just had this happen, funny enough. I had went out with a buyer, got this signed first.
Good job.
They ended up, we put in an offer, but we didn't get it. There was multiple offers, happens in the market, and we didn't get it. Went back to them with looking for other houses. They thought that one was the one for them. They're kind of frustrated with that, unfortunately. But they then, for a couple of days, didn't go out. I reached back out and they said, you know what? We're actually found a home that was for sale. We actually put in the offer ourselves, and we negotiated a lower price because then they didn't have to pay a buyer's agent. Understandable. It's part of this world. Had been talking to them about listing their current home. And so I moved to that. Well, are you going to need help there? They ended up saying that they had reached out to a couple of different realtors, and this is where we can differentiate ourselves. Hey, these are the services I offer. But this particular prospect or client wanted nothing more than to have the bottom line be as large as possible. And so they went with what I would call a discount brokerage. And so they found somebody who would do the listing for a very low commission percentage, very minimal services available to them. And they believe that they can sell the home using that. If that's the case, that's fine. Not everybody is going to want to take on that sort of responsibility while they're also buying a home, while their rest of their life is going on, whether it be a family or their work or career or anything, or travel, any of that. So that's what we as realtors are here for, and to do it the right way with the fiduciary responsibility. It was a very easy conversation to have because ultimately, here's the documents that I would present to you. Here's what I can do for you to pay you, or for you to pay me the commission, and how that looks. If you do not want to do that, that is absolutely your choice. That's what's great about this whole
thing. But again, that's
never
changed.
No, it's
They've
never
always
changed.
been able to do that.
It's always been that. But it could become a more hot topic, right? It could be, whereas before, 3 years ago, it was really just, hey, we need to get our house on the market right away because somebody's going to throw a big briefcase of money at us, right? And that sort of thing. So it's always topical. It's always time sensitive with this business and with the career that I've chosen. So.
Yeah. Well, that was a good hot topic to talk about, and will continue to be a hot topic for a while, I'm sure. So, Brian, that was wonderful. Can you please let everybody know if they want to utilize your services? How do they reach you?
I can be found on the Coldwell Banker website. Just type in Coldwell Banker NHS in your Google, most likely is best. And then type in Brian Kays. You should be able to find me there. The other way you can find me, I'm on social media, Instagram, Facebook, phone number, LinkedIn. Yep. And phone number, you can reach me at 402-740-0187.
Thank you, Brian, for the conversation, and we are signing off.
Thank you. Thanks.